Hello, everyone. Thank you for your time today. My name is Monica Porter, and I'm joined by my colleague, Nora Breslin. We are both with Home Base, a nonprofit that works with communities to end homelessness and a California Complete Count statewide partner for the 2020 census. We're here to share with you some key information about how you can help to ensure that people experiencing homelessness are completely counted in the census this year. A brief note on timing. The census has been particularly dynamic this year with many operational updates. We are recording this training on Thursday, September 3rd. So let's get started on the next slide. As you likely know, there are a number of ways for people experiencing homelessness to participate in the 2020 census. Online, over the phone, through group quarters, at transitory locations, and through service-based enumeration. Home Base has outreach materials for community partners with details on how to get counted with each of these methods, and they are available on our website, which is linked on this slide. We are working on translating updated outreach materials, and we'll be sure to post those as soon as they're ready. For today, we're going to focus on service-based enumeration, starting on the next slide. Service-based enumeration provides an opportunity for people experiencing homelessness to be counted at a place where they receive services, such as shelters, meal sites, and mobile food vans, or at outdoor locations such as encampments. Service-based enumeration was set to occur at the end of March and early April, but just like everything else, this plan has been upended by COVID-19 and rescheduled for September 22nd, 23rd, and 24th. Each service-based enumeration location type has a different method by which people will be counted and how those operations have been adjusted due to COVID-19. We'll discuss what enumeration looks like at each of these location types in a bit more detail, starting on the next slide. One type of service-based enumeration location is emergency and transitional shelters with sleeping facilities. This includes Project Roomkey sites or any other COVID-19 related temporary hotels and motels sheltering people experiencing homelessness. Service-based enumeration will take place September 22nd through 24th, and shelters will have a choice of those 3 days. Shelters have the most options available to them in terms of enumeration methods. The first option is in-person interviews. For this option, census staff will schedule with the shelter to arrive after doors close for the night. Of course, this in-person option is not ideal in the current environment, and shelters will also have the choice of 2 other options. The second option for shelters is paper response data collection. With this option, a census worker will provide a template with rows to collect census information for each client, and the census will collect the filled-in template from the shelter contact at an agreed-upon date and time. Census staff are strongly encouraging this option to reduce the need for in-person interviews. There are several ways that data can be provided through paper response data collection. The first way is that shelter staff can compile the data to provide it to census staff. Alternatively, the city or county can assist shelters with compiling this data to then have the shelter staff provide it to the census. And finally, shelters can use a paper roster as a sign-in sheet for residents to fill in and provide that roster to census staff. The census has tools in post-processing to decipher handwriting and can arrange to have someone drop off a paper listing template. We know that there may be privacy or data sharing concerns here, and if those come up in your communities, Home Base is available to help. We'll be sharing our email address at the end of the presentation. The third option for emergency shelters is drop-off pickup enumeration method. With this option, census staff will drop off individual census questionnaires for residents to fill out, and then census staff will pick those up at a specified date and time. This is a good option for avoiding having census staff coming into your facility, but it does place an additional burden on agency staff to coordinate. I've referenced a number of different documents, so on the next slide, we will show you that for sample posters that inform community members of when the census is coming, or for informational copies of what the census will use when they visit service-based locations, please visit 2020census.gov and search service-based enumeration in the search bar on the top right corner. As you can see, documents are available in English and in several other languages. On the next slide, we will talk about additional service-based locations. So in addition to shelters, service-based enumeration counts people experiencing homelessness at service locations such as food banks, mobile food vans, and soup kitchens. We know that many of these types of service locations have had significant operational changes due to COVID-19. Things like serving grab-and-go meals instead of sit-down group meals. So it will be important to communicate any of those changes to census staff when they reach out to make enumeration plans. Service sites such as soup kitchens, food banks, and mobile food vans will have the choice of the 3 service-based enumeration dates, September 22, 23, or 24. For these locations, in-person interviews is the only available enumeration method. Census staff will strive to make enumeration appointments for large meal times and when as many people are present as possible. Census staff will survey as many people as possible while they are there. However, due to COVID-19, census staff will have some flexibility to do more of an observational count. So the census would come for a specified amount of time to ensure that everyone is counted at these locations, even if they don't have the opportunity to conduct an in-person interview with each person. Census staff will be easily identified with census ID badges and orange vests, and will follow the latest public health guidance regarding PPE and social distancing. Census staff will have questionnaires in English and in Spanish, and will have language cards as needed to identify and accommodate additional language needs. On the next slide, we'll round out our discussion of service-based enumeration locations. So here, TINSEL stands for Targeted Non-Sheltered Outdoor Locations, which includes encampments, parks, and transit stations. This outdoor count will take place starting the night of September 23rd and continue through the day of September 24th. Census staff will stay out however long it takes to cover all locations that a community has identified. The TINSEL count will be conducted by in-person interviews and observation counts as necessary. If someone is asleep, census staff will ask people nearby for information. And if needed, census staff will count people by observation. Assumptions based on demographics, based on appearances, will not be made. Again, census staff will be identifiable by an orange vest and a census badge. Home Base has outreach materials available on our website with these details and more, including those that are geared towards service providers and meant for outreach at encampments. So now I will turn it over to Nora.
Great, thanks, Monica. So we're going to move into talking a little bit about what Monica mentioned on the last slide, which is advanced contact. And so this is basically how the service-based enumeration process will kick off. Each service location will be contacted by the area census office to plan for the count. And this process began a few weeks ago on August 17th, and it will continue through September 11th. Please be aware that September 11th is actually the last day to make an appointment to be included in the service-based enumeration. So if you haven't heard from the area census office by by Labor Day, then please reach out and contact them. And if you're having trouble identifying who you should contact or their contact information, please contact Home Base and we're happy to help you walk through that. So really the goal of advanced contact is to nail down for each service provider the name of the organization, location, contact info of each site, the date and time of your enumeration visit, your preferred enumeration method for shelters, an estimated population count if you have that information available, and for the census to work with you to address any concerns or changes to operations due to COVID-19. So here's a few suggestions on how service providers can prepare for the upcoming census activities. So of course, with advanced contact, making sure that your agency has been in contact with the area census office by September 11th. But beyond that, really working on a couple of different items. So increasing clients' awareness of the census and your count day, preparing your team, so staff, volunteers, your people in your organization, and making sure that everyone knows the logistics in advance of your count day, including the date and time census staff are expected to arrive. If your service site is going to be hosting in-person interviews, really make sure you have a designated space where people can answer census questions in a confidential and socially distant setting. And consider if it's possible for you providing incentives for clients to participate in the census, such as gift cards. So Monica touched a little bit on this already, but there are other ways beyond service-based enumeration that folks experiencing homelessness can get counted. And so we really want to be clear that folks experiencing homelessness can self-respond to the census and online or by phone, and you do not need an address to do so. So if someone does not have an address, they can use an intersection or describe the location where they're staying and include the city and state in the address section, either online or by phone. And we just wanted to touch on a few talking points that we think are really important to be communicating to the folks that are receiving services at your organizations regarding the census. And a couple of those are really communicating to people that there are many ways to participate in the census, even if you don't have a usual address, informing folks that they can be counted at a location where they receive services in late September, or that folks can respond online or over the phone without an address. Also extremely important to emphasize, especially now, is that there are no questions about citizenship or immigration status, and to really clearly communicate that people's personal information is confidential and that the census cannot share information with any government agency, including law enforcement and ICE. So we wanted to also walk through a couple of key messages, and we pulled these from a California Complete Count toolkit. The folks at the California Complete Count did some focus groups and surveys of folks with lived experience and hard to count vulnerable populations, and really found that phrasing messages the way we've laid out in these few examples is an effective way to communicate the importance of the census, the safety of the census, and the urgency to complete the census. So I'm just going to read through a couple of those examples now, but feel free to look on the California Complete Count website for additional examples. So one example is communicating to folks, you can determine the next 10 years in just a few minutes, prioritize your future, and fill out the simple, secure census. Everyone counts, so don't let anyone erase you, and protect funding for homeless services. Another message could be, 9 simple questions is the next 10 years. Prioritize your future and complete the census. Just a few minutes will make a huge difference in determining funding for healthcare and homeless services. Or another way to phrase the message is, time is running out to make an impact on funding for community and social services for the next 10 years. So please take a few minutes to complete the census. It's safe, secure, and drives critical dollars into healthcare or homeless service programs. And again, these are messages that you can use in your interpersonal communications with folks or on social media, your website, posters, etc. And speaking of posters, we have some additional resources that on our website, on Homebase's website, that we wanted to share with folks. We have a couple of social media graphics, which really are meant to quickly encapsulate some important information about the census for folks. So why the census is important, how to take the census if you don't have an address, how to get counted online, and how to get counted over the phone. So please feel free to download this information and use it on your organization's website, social media account, etc. Further, we'll put in one final plug for all of our outreach materials. We have a number of handouts and other outreach materials on our website. The URL is on the top of this slide that you can download, and they are targeted to both service providers and folks with lived experience. We will be getting these handouts and outreach materials translated into various languages, and we will update the website once those are available. But if you're looking for outreach materials immediately as of September 3rd that are translated into languages other than English, you can find them at census.caa.gov or countusin2020.org/resources if you need those right away. And we also wanted to just ensure that folks have information on their area census office. Again, very important to be getting in contact with those folks before September 11th. So if you don't know who your contact person is, we've attached this contact list so you can search them there, or we've also attached the URL with a link to a map of area census office locations. If you do have questions, feedback, concerns, need help getting connected with the area census office, please do email us at census2020@homebaseccc.org, and we are happy to assist, or you can find the resources that we mentioned in this presentation on our website at the URL below. Thank you so much for joining us today, and we look forward to hearing from you.